want schools and colleges to teach our kids from the very youngest age what it is to deal with uncomfortable emotions, because they're definitely going to come. You're all going to experience anxiety at some level at some point. We're pretty much all going to experience grief, and who knows what else, relationship breakups, alcohol, drug addiction. We're all going to experience something in our lives. Our children need to know that that train definitely comes, and here's how you deal with it, as opposed to treating it like it's a big bloody surprise when it shows up, and then trying to rely on a system that doesn't have the capacity to deal with people when they're acutely unwell. We don't need to be acutely unwell. We need to be resilient about recognising what happens and what we need to do when we start to feel the tremors of unwellness. And when we do that, then people don't need to get acutely unwell. So Whirlwind and all of those grassroots organisations, I know we talked about some of them tonight, they're all about trying to help people recognise the tremors through self-disclosure and honesty and connection. And that way we help all of us to get through what is, at times, quite a difficult journey in life. That's what it comes down to for me. And I know that sounds simple, but I think it is that simple. For most of us, I think the answer is in connection, conversation, honesty, vulnerability, and communicating that vulnerability.
In some of the stories that we heard tonight, honestly, they're probably as deep as you can go in regards to significant trauma, I would say. And yet they are willing to open up to three complete strangers who have just arrived through the door. Yeah. No one really understands our agenda, and Goose talked about before about that presumption and the assumption and the misperception or perception that we have of people. And so obviously there is such a genuine culture of respect and support here. Obviously this is something I'd love to see grown perhaps around grassroots areas. Is this a vision you have for Whirlwind, that you could have like these smaller satellite stations?
Well, we don't own the rights to Whirlwind in terms of, if anyone sees what we're doing and wants to replicate it anyway, we will very happily give them the benefit of the lessons that we've learned and how we got to here. When we first started out with Whirlwind, we had this kind of grandiose ideas of making it sort of countrywide. But actually, when you get to try and scale things up like that, then you struggle with being too big an organisation, and you lose the very essence of grassroots that you're trying to achieve. So the better idea, in my opinion, is for people to look at what we're doing and look at the simplicity of it. And I can tell you the simplicity of how we fundraise as well. It's really simple and very sustainable. You just need a few, sort of like-minded guys in different communities who will do exactly the same thing. Yeah. It's really easy to replicate, and then it can be run locally. It needs to be run locally because you actually need to know each other. So it's no good me sitting here in Capri going, Whirlwind's here, and this is the headquarters of Whirlwind, and we decide, because all you're doing is replicating a system, which is the very thing I'm talking about not needing. Yeah. You need local people to do local things in those communities, because they know their communities. Yeah. They know who does what and who sits where. So pinch the idea of Whirlwind, please, and plug it in wherever you want, wherever there's a need, but let these guys do it themselves.
And so, we're drawing awareness to what you've been able to accomplish, and we'd hope that some volunteers perhaps are in a similar position to you, where they've got a genuine desire to look after the community that exists within, or just offer a support system. You've managed to create something here that works. So how might, if I'm sitting up in a small community, somewhere with Coromandel, for instance, I might watch this interview, I've listened to you, and I go, you know what, I'd love to be able to replicate that, like you say. How might I get in contact with you around this?
Look us up on Facebook. So there's a Whirlwind Facebook page, you can send a message to that, one of us will get it. We can add anybody anywhere in the world to our Whirlwind community group, provide their mail, or at least I've been once. Yeah. And from there we can advise and help set up what they need to. But I think the guts of it are the local meals, where people, like you've heard tonight, get up and talk about the darkest of things, but unencumbered by. I'm not saying there isn't fear, but they will still do it. even to in front of 3 strangers. And I've noticed the 3 of you share parts of your own stories, and whether that's a decision that you made proactively or whether you felt, well, actually, I feel quite free to do that because, you know, I don't have anything that's bigger than what's being said already in the room. So, but yeah, that would be the process. Get in touch with us. We're more than happy to help you out.
Awesome. Hey, well, thank you so much for having us tonight, Martin.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate it. And if you are out there, get amongst it, get into contact with Martin, or search up Whirlwind on Facebook, and man, start up these because they work, and ultimately they're saving lives. So, cheers. Thank you.